The Don Tony and Kevin Castle show contains explicit language and is intended for mature audiences only. But just because you're mature doesn't mean you can't be a little naughty.
I know you're not too thrilled about talking about this, but you and I have some interesting commentary to bring up. I was going to do it on Breakfast with Blassie only. I'll be honest with you, I forgot to talk about it Wednesday. A lot of people wanted us to talk about it. I think the reason why a lot of people want us to talk about it is not because they agree with me or agree with you, but it's like you and I are the only two that have the balls to bring this to the surface, okay? And this has to do with Bobby the Brain Heenan. Now, there is a video floating around right now on the net, okay? I have the event here. Bobby Heenan is shown, and they're hyping up a convention that's going to take place in Winston-Salem, North Carolina later this year. It's called WrestleCade 2015. If you go on YouTube, type in WrestleCade 2015, Bobby Heenan, you will see Bobby Heenan making an appearance. You'll see him hugging Roddy Piper, Ted DiBiase, and, Bobby Heenan looks terrible, okay? And I've said this, for the people that don't want to look to see what he looks like, and I don't say this for comedic purposes, his head looks, the shape of his head looks like a light bulb. That's really what it looks like, okay? The guy's had a lot of cancer, a lot of surgeries. His face is just really devastated, okay? Yeah. Here's my point. Bobby Heenan goes to a lot of wrestling conventions. Bobby Heenan shakes a lot of hands. Bobby Heenan takes a lot of pictures. In this condition, Bobby Heenan goes and meets with the fans and with his fellow wrestlers and people that he worked with in years past, up-and-coming stars that idolized him or looked up to him in his career. The man makes appearances all the time. Why does he do it? Because he loves wrestling. He loves being around it. He misses the business. He sees old friends. He meets new friends.
Well, that's one thing, not to cut you off, income, too.
Income also. Yeah. So this is what bothers me, okay? We stand up to cancer, children's cancer, Connor, breast cancer, balls cancer, this person survivor, this person shot, people being dismembered in our military. WWE celebrates them all. But because Bobby Heenan's face is a little bit disturbing to look at, it bothers the shit out of me that WWE does not allow, pay any tribute, any respect, have him appear. I know it's not a pleasant sight, but I don't know how Bobby Heenan feels, but in my opinion, I feel WWE is treating Bobby Heenan like the Elephant Man. That every other cancer, as long as you look good enough on television, that we can, and WWE is very genuine in the Make-A-Wish and all that stuff. I won't take that away from them. But it bothers the shit out of me that Bobby Heenan, one of the most important people of our generation, and he's still alive, and he's in public, and he loves the business, misses the business, is constantly out there, and WWE doesn't even mention his name. They don't even say nothing. They don't ever acknowledge him. They don't ever offer him to do like a Bobby Heenan night. Just have him come out. He doesn't need to talk. He doesn't need to do anything. I guarantee you, if they did that one night, as sad as it looks, okay, it brings to the surface another form of cancer that's not as pretty, and I guarantee you that 99% of the people in the audience, even if they all have tears in their eyes, they will still clap, cheer, make that man feel like $1 trillion, and let's do it while he's alive instead of when he's dead. It was okay to have a tear, every person at the Hall of Fame ceremony, it was okay to every single person have a tear in their eye about Connor. All right, but we can't do it about Bobby Heenan because he's like the Elephant Man.
Well, let's go back a few years, okay? A few years ago, there was a Bobby Heenan documentary DVD that came out. That was a few years ago when Bobby wasn't as bad as he is now. He's pretty bad now. It's
disturbing.
It's very uncomfortable to look at. I mean, I'm a person who had to look at my father emaciate and distort and not look like my dad anymore. That was very rough. And that was for a brief period of time. Not for Bobby Heenan is really living a long time with this illness. Impressive and unbelievable at the same time. The fact that this DVD, anybody in the chat room wants to tell me when this was released, I believe it was 3 to 5 years ago. The fact that he wasn't that bad, he was bad, but he wasn't that bad, and they chose to not have him on the DVD in no capacity, form whatsoever.
Yeah, I remember that.
Showed you right there that they thought, this is too uncomfortable. This is for a DVD purchase, and this is his life story, Bobby Heenan's story. I was shocked that he wasn't even on it, and maybe his wife translating for him or whatever. Nothing, not a thing. I remember, Don Tony, I told you, Bobby Heenan's not on his own DVD.
Yeah.
And nothing. It wasn't on it. Wasn't even that Bobby declined to be on it due to his impending illness. Nothing mentioned or whatever. It was very strange. It was almost like he was gone then. Here we are 4 or 5 years later. I saw, me and Don Tony talking about this earlier, so I had actually went on YouTube and wanted to see a most recent clip with Bobby Heenan because I saw last year. I want to see if it has gotten any worse from there. It is very disturbing to look at because especially I've seen Bobby Heenan up close and in person in Madison Square Garden many times. So, I mean, it is not, he's not that man anymore, as a lot of people are not the person they used to be when they are devastated by this illness. I think it's, WWE, I told Don Tony a little bit on the fence on both sides. I totally agree with what you're saying, and you're right. This is the face of cancer, but when it becomes something like this where they really think, and I think they sat back and maybe even said, I don't know, we're just, like I said, this is an opinion show. This is not facts, this is just our opinions.
Yeah, it's opinions.
We're just speculating as human beings. That Triple H, who I think is a decent human being at heart, I mean, obviously, with the way he's reached out to Warriors family, the McMahons are not bad people, I don't think. They've done a lot of good things. I think they look at it visually and say, I just don't know. I don't know if it's the right thing to do. Do we want to really make our audience that upset? Do we want to... Because it is upsetting. I get upset when I'm looking at it, not because of my discomfort. I feel sad, and I think to watch wrestling... That's why they do these things in the beginning. Everybody's sad with these tributes. They do the bell thing, and then they try, okay, let's have a good time and celebrate the life tonight. Because that's what the show, it's entertainment. That's what we're missing here. It's not 2 hours of, oh, God, let's feel horrible. Wrestling is supposed to be an escape for everybody to feel a little bit better about themselves and forget about these kind of things. Connor was a cute little boy at the beginning of his life, and just here's a kid who didn't get 7 fucking years. Bobby Heenan has gotten almost 70 plus. He's an older man. I think they probably see it as something of, okay, if this was a kid, it's a little bit different because this is a kid cut down, didn't get to live, had no quality of life. Here's a man who lived a life, had a life, unfortunately is having a bad ending, but had a very good life up until that point. And I think it's not any evil WWE Empire thing. It's not being a WWE fanboy. It's being a human being and thinking logically why they're doing this or why they are choosing to not, I don't know if ignore is the word. Ignore would be like, I don't think there's a person in the back who doesn't care about Bobby. And I'm sure they all love him. I'm sure they all think he's part of the family. But I think you look at those pictures, and even I was watching people take pictures with Bobby and some of the fan things, and you can see the look on their face, and they touch him, and they look, it's uncomfortable, and that's just human nature. I don't blame anybody for being uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable even from my own dad. It was heartbreaking, and to make people feel like that for extended period of time, I think they didn't think was right for television. That's just my opinion.
Right.
But Bobby Heenan, if they can do a tribute to him and have him come out and come to an agreement and think of some way that they can do it where it makes everybody happy, no one's going to be fully comfortable. Look, we were just talking about how some people are uncomfortable in PC. I think this is not a PC thing. I think this is more of like a human comfort zone thing. It's different, Don Tony, than being
but
PC.
Cancer is never pretty.
It's never. Oh, cancer is definitely never pretty. I mean, last year at this time, every day of every minute of every hour, I felt horrible. And I couldn't do anything about for the most important person in my life, who was changing in front of me, like melting in front. Literally every time I saw him, changing, worse. And we all go through it. Everybody here is probably nodding their heads out. Yep, I've been through it. I've seen it. My brother, my sister, my mother-in-law. But I think that Bobby has probably outlasted and has lived a lot longer than everybody else. God, what a fucking fighting spirit that guy has. And his wife looked like happy to be there. I was watching the convention he was at last year on a YouTube clip.
Yeah.
And she's, plugging along and doing his business and being a great wife and being a manager and everything and doing interviews for him and speaking for him. And that's great. But I think that as far as putting him out on WATV, I personally don't think it's going to happen. But I tell you, if it does happen, and from our lips to God's ears, imagine, Don Tony, in 2 weeks they announce Bobby Heenan night. I mean, not because of we said anything. It just seems that we talk about these subjects and then, ironically, something comes to light and then something happens.
I'm telling you, they should throw the idea out there. And not only that, I want to just make this perfectly clear. Two things. One, this is just our opinions. And number two.
Yeah, it's just our opinions.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, like I said, sometimes we're right on the money on some of these things and they come to fruition, and sometimes they don't get talked about and they get swept under the rug. But I don't think, like I said, I'm firm in believing it's not a PC thing, because we just talked about how PC is ruining everything. It's a human comfort level of kind of sympathy and empathy. Like I said, man, when I saw the clip now, like I said, I was sorry I even watched it before I came on, because I'm like, you can even hear it. I feel bummed about it.
Yeah.
But it's not up to me to be comfortable.
But here's the thing, though.
I can imagine how everybody feels.
Right, but here's the thing. You like you said, imagine how everybody feels. But imagine how Bobby Heenan would feel.
Oh, no, we know how he feels, how he's been feeling for the last decade that he's been dealing with this.
Yeah, and the
I
only
remember
reason
10 years ago when he got diagnosed and he was on our video and he was talking funny, and he had actually told Rob that he had TMJ or something like that, and I knew that he was bullshit. And then it turned, he admitted he was lying. He didn't want to tell our video that he was suffering like he was, but he was saying that he had a tooth or a problem with his gums or his jaw or whatever. And you could see, but he looked good then. Like he was in good. He looked fine. Yeah. And then it started right after his Hall of Fame acceptance.
Well, this is the thing, and then we'll move on. I look at it like this. The only reason why I even thought of this is because if Bobby Heenan stood home, didn't go out, didn't appear, did autographs by mail, didn't want to be seen in public, was embarrassed of himself in public.
No, I don't think embarrassed is the word. I don't think.
Or if he felt uncomfortable to be around people.
We keep using the word comfort, but I don't think it's embarrassed.
No, if he felt uncomfortable being around people, then I could.
Or his wife felt like this is not good for him. But obviously this is good for his spirits, and
all
obviously
they got to do is just
do what you got to do. You know what I mean?
All they got to do is just wheel him out on the stage, have him wave to everybody. Everybody cheer, just stand up, give him a standing ovation. All the wrestlers come out, cheer. Give him, even if it happened at the end of Raw or Raw went off the air. Okay? If they did that, just have him come out and ramble. I'm telling you, I think it would be
awesome.
It'll be one of those moments that you always remember.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think for a whole show and to have him at ringside whole show.
No, not the whole show.
Like I said, I can see them struggling with that in the back because, like I said, I don't think they're bad people. I think them just saying, should we do something like it's right, but it's not. It is and it isn't. It's like I said, there's no easy answers for a lot of things in life, man. It's a real struggle to think of what the good thing, the greater good is for everybody. Yeah. It's not as simple as everything is not so simple.